Chapter 16 in your administrative dental assisting textbook talks about bookkeeping procedures, specifically accounts payable. And this starts on page 243. So in this chapter, we'll describe the function of the accounts payable. Um, we'll formulate a system to, or we'll show you how to formulate a system to organize accounts payable. We'll talk about ways to analyze the methods of check writing and stating, as well as stating their functions. We'll discuss steps to reconcile a bank statement and list the necessary information. We'll discuss payroll, including the information needed for a payable record, the calculation of payroll and necessary taxes, reporting of payroll, and payroll services. Accounts payable is a system by which all dental practice expenditures are organized, verified, and categorized. The system identifies when authorized payments for bills, including payroll, are to be issued. It verifies charges and categorizes expenditures. Other elements of the accounts payable system include reconciliation of the checking accounts and preparation of documents for the accountant. An accounts payable is the money that the practice owes to other people. This includes vendors and payrolls, as an example. And some steps in organizing an accounts payable system are to establish set dates each month when payments will be generated. Then develop a system that categorizes unpaid bills according to the date on which the authorization to pay the bills will be issued. Before statements are paid, you want to verify the postings. This includes charges and payments. We also want to make payments using an electronic method, such as an EFT, like electronic funds transfer, or a computer check writing program. Manual checks can even be written if your office is in the dark ages. Stamp the date paid and the check number on the statement, and include the EFT transfer number on the check, or the check number. Also categorize expenditures for use in an accounting report. The accounts payable process begins when an invoice arrives in the office. The assistant who receives the order confirms that the items listed have been included in the shipment. Notations are made if an item has been placed on back order or is not included in the shipment. Invoices are then placed in the appropriate file. When a statement arrives from the laboratory for payment, the envelope is opened and the statement is removed along with the return envelope. Invoices received throughout the month are used to verify charges posted on the statement. After all the invoices are accounted for, they are stapled to the corresponding statements. It may be the responsibility of the administrative dental assistant to file these statements. After approval has been received to pay a bill, the next step is to make the payment. This can be done either electronically, it can be done by direct payment, or credit cards. Accounts are set up to transfer the funds electronically, either as a one time transfer or an automatic transfer from the account of the dental practice. Check writing software has almost taken away the process of writing, recording, categorizing, and reconciling check amounts. These software programs perform the functions required by the pegboard check writing systems, such as producing a check register or deposit slip and generating numerous reports. Deposits are no longer limited to paper copies or face-to-face bank transactions. Deposits can be made through an ATM by scanning the checks and paper currency. After the deposit has been scanned, the ATM will produce a deposit slip complete with images of the checks and account of the currency. So there are two different ways to write a check. With you have manual check writing and computerized check writing. With manual check writing, you first want to use ink that cannot be changed or altered. This is an ink pen, a typewriter, or a computer. You want to write neatly, legibly, and accurately, and you want to correctly enter the name of the payee. This is the person or the company receiving the check or the payment. You then want to clearly write the amount of the check. After that, transfer the information to the check register. This is the check number, the payee, and the amount. Fill in all spaces on the check so that the amount or the payee cannot be altered. After checks are written or printed, have them signed by the authorized person. This is usually the dentist or the business manager. If an error is made in the writing of the check must be voided and a new check must be issued. Checks will not be paid if there are insufficient funds in the account. Before mailing checks or processing electronic transfers, you want to first balance the account and verify that sufficient funds are available to cover the payments. With computerized check or computer generated check writing, the steps include printing checks using a special paper stock designed for checks. You want to use a font style and a size that's easy to read, and then correctly enter the information into the software program. You want to double check that you have entered the correct dollar amount, and then check and verify that the information has been entered correctly. A check can be voided in the program and will appear on the check register as voided. If your checks are pre-printed with the check number, the check will need to be destroyed using the same method as the manual system. At the end of each month or banking period, you will receive a bank statement. This statement may be delivered either in an electronic or paper format. And this is something that will need to be reconciled. To do this, you need a few things. First, the information listed on a bank statement. This includes the date and amount of each deposit. And then that also includes the type of deposit that's going to be made. That also includes the date, the check number, and the amount of each check processed by the bank. It'll include debit items and other amounts that have been deducted from the account. It'll also include daily totals of debits and credits. Some of the items needed for reconciling the account are a check register, and this can be a computer register, a checkbook register, or a pegboard register. Deposit records are also needed. This is a documentation of all deposits made by the dental practice and bank statements. Some steps in reconciling the account include verifying debits, verifying deposits, verifying canceled checks and electronic debits, verify the balance, and making corrections to the register. And just note, this can all be done either electronically or manually. So if the account does not balance, this is some of the steps that you're gonna take to try to make it balance out somehow. So first, you want to check to see that all checks and EFTs were properly entered on the check register. If that all looks good, the next thing that you'll check is to see whether all the totals on the deposits are the same as those listed on the bank statement. If that's good, then the next thing is to make sure that all the checks and EFTs are accounted for. This means either verify that they have been cleared by the bank or list them on the worksheet as outstanding checks or EFTs. Do not forget to check previous statements for outstanding checks or EFTs. If that all looks good, then the next thing to do is to make sure that all electronic debits and credits are accounted for. If that's good, then make sure all service charges are accounted for. If that still doesn't balance it out, then check to see that the worksheet calculations are correct. Um, then double check all addition and subtraction entries in the checkbook. Are they listed in the correct column? Were their debits canceled or subtracted from the balance? Were the credits added to the balance? If the checkbook still does not balance, you may wish to request help from a coworker um, or bank worker. Sometimes just another set of eyes will help you catch the error and fix it so that the books balance out. Creating and maintaining payroll records may be duties assigned to the administrative dental assistant. To create the payroll, each employee must have a separate payroll record number with proper documentation. New employees must complete the Immigration and Naturalization Service, or the INS form, which is Form I-9. After the form has been completed, it is the responsibility of the employer to check their approved documentation. The Social Security number must be recorded with the employee's name and address. Employees must also complete what's known as a W-4 form, and there is a picture of that or an example of that on figure 16-10 on page 252. In this, it includes the employee's withholding allowance. The withholding allowance and filing status are used to calculate the amount of income tax that should be withheld from the employee's wages. Before payroll checks can be written, the amount due must be calculated through determination of taxes and other deductions. The employment tax rates include withholding taxes, Social Security tax, known as FICA, and Medicare taxes. Calculating net salary is done with the help of tax tables and percentage calculation guides. The administrative dental assistant must calculate the various taxes that are deducted from each employee's pay. Several steps are followed in determining the net salary of each employee and are listed more in your book on page 259. After taxes have been calculated, they are reported to the IRS and deposited. Taxes to be reported include federal income, Social Security, and Medicare taxes. There are two types of payroll: computerized payroll and payroll services. Computer programs are available that calculate and record all payroll information. These programs use the information kept in a payroll record. After the count has been established, payroll information is entered and the program determines the amount of tax and other deductions. With payroll services, banks and third-party vendors who calculate payroll provide these services. The IRS provides a list of companies that have passed the IRS Assurance Testing System, or the ATS, and or business acceptance testing, or the BAT, requirements for software developers, reporting agents, and transmitters of electronic business returns to the IRS. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me or ask me in class. Thanks for listening.